A young boy named Dion, who lived in the city of Atlanta, America, was completely different from the other kids his age. His classmates at school didn't like him and always kept their distance from him. But no one knew that Dion had mysterious powers hidden inside him, powers that even he himself didn't fully understand. Sometimes strange things would suddenly start happening around him, and he had absolutely no control over them. Dion's mother, Nicole, was raising him all alone because her husband, Mark, had mysteriously disappeared many years ago. That morning, Nicole takes her son to school, but there she realizes that Dion doesn't get along with any of his classmates. This deeply hurts her from the inside. On the other side, the same day brings another huge shock into Nicole's life when she gets fired from her job. Feeling stressed and heartbroken, she goes out to meet her friends to clear her mind. Meanwhile at school, Dion tries to make friends with some kids, but nobody wants to accept him. The only person who talks to him kindly is a girl named Esperanza. She was also different from everyone else, which is why both of them understood each other really well. After school, Dion goes to a skating rink hoping to make some new friends. At first everyone makes fun of him because he is terrible at skating, but the moment he focuses, the powers inside him suddenly awaken, and he performs such an incredible stunt that all the kids there are left completely shocked. Just then, Nicole arrives there and angrily tells Dion to get into the car immediately because he was supposed to wait for her at school. After reaching home, they meet Pat, who was Dion's godfather and also Mark's best friend. Pat tells them that he had promised to take Dion out for pizza that night. When Dion leaves to hang out outside, Nicole sits alone in the bathtub drinking wine while thinking about her husband. The moment Mark's memories return to her mind, tears begin falling from her eyes. On the other side at the pizzeria, Pat shows Dion his new comic books. One of the stories had a character who could move things using only his mind. Seeing that, Dion reveals that he also wants to become a superhero, but he still hasn't learned how to control his powers. During their conversation, Dion starts asking his godfather questions about his father. Since Pat and Mark were very close friends, he believed that maybe Pat knew the truth, but Nicole had never told her son the complete truth until now. She had only said that his father had disappeared somewhere because his body was never found. That is why even today Dion truly believes in his heart that one day his father will definitely return. That night Dion was sitting with his mother and talking to her. While playing around, he suddenly starts making his toy figures float in the air without even touching them. Seeing her son's strange powers, Nicole becomes terrified and immediately tells him to stop, but Dion himself gets scared too and completely loses control over his abilities. A heavy lamp inside the room suddenly flies straight toward Nicole at full speed, but at the very last second, Dion manages to stop it. After witnessing all this, Nicole is completely shaken with fear. She cannot understand what is really happening to her son. That is why she immediately takes Dion to the hospital so her sister Kat can examine him. After the checkup, Kat says that Dion is perfectly healthy. She starts believing that maybe Nicole is imagining these things because of some medication or stress. Slowly, Nicole also tries convincing herself that maybe whatever she saw was only her imagination. After returning home that same night, Nicole decides that the time has finally come to tell Dion the truth about his father. She explains that Mark jumped into a river to save the life of an unknown woman, but the strong current swept him away and he never came back again. Hearing this makes Dion emotional, but at the same time, he also feels proud that his father left the world like a true hero. The next morning, Nicole takes her son to the old cabin where she and Mark used to spend their weekends together. There, the two of them go fishing near the lake, but when Dion fails to catch even a single fish, he secretly uses his powers and lifts all the fish out of the water into the air. This time, Nicole tries to stay calm and gently tells Dion to put the fish back into the lake, but suddenly the trees around them begin shaking violently and a huge wooden log comes flying directly toward Dion. Out of fear, Dion falls straight into the lake. Seeing her son drowning, Nicole instantly jumps into the water and somehow manages to save his life. That night, a massive storm was raging outside. Suddenly, Dion walks out of the cabin and says that he can see people standing inside the forest. When Nicole goes outside to bring him back in, she also starts seeing those mysterious spirits herself. Among them were several people who had already died, and standing between them was Mark as well. It almost seemed like he was trying to give Nicole an important message. The next morning, Nicole decides to call the woman whose life Mark had saved before disappearing, but the call directly goes to voicemail. Nicole leaves a message and explains that she found her number inside Mark's jacket pocket. This clearly meant that Mark already knew that woman before the accident happened. Thinking about this fills Nicole's mind with doubt that maybe her husband had been hiding something from her all along. She begs the woman to call her back as soon as possible. Just then, a police officer suddenly arrives at the door and shows Nicole a photograph of a woman, asking if she knows her. The woman's name was Jill Noonan, whose cabin was located on the other side of the lake, and she had mysteriously disappeared. The police officer explains that the previous night Jill had stepped outside her cabin to watch the storm, but after that, she mysteriously disappeared without a trace. After asking a few more questions, the officer says he will keep an eye on the area and then leaves leaves from there. The moment he leaves, Nicole immediately calls Pat and asks him about a woman named Charlotte Tuck, but Pat says that he doesn't know any woman by that name. Nicole then shares her suspicion that maybe Mark had betrayed her trust and was somehow connected to that woman. Pat tries to calm her down and asks for Charlotte's number, but Nicole says she needs to figure this out on her own. Saying that, she hangs up the phone. After this, Nicole takes Dion near the lake so she can understand the truth behind his powers, but Dion's attention was focused somewhere else entirely. Suddenly, he notices a squirrel and starts running after it. The squirrel climbs up a tree, and by accident, Dion suddenly teleports himself onto one of the high branches. Trapped up there, he becomes terrified. Seeing her son stuck in that condition, Nicole panics and quickly brings a ladder to somehow get him back down safely. A few hours later, Nicole receives a call from her sister Kat. Kat tells her that she has arranged a job interview for her at the hospital. Because of this, they both return to the city. Nicole also takes Dion along with her because he still hadn't learned how to properly control his powers. During the interview, Nicole remains constantly distracted because Dion was sitting alone in another room. Her attention keeps shifting back toward her son again and again. Suddenly, she sees Dion floating in the air along with the chair he was sitting on. Seeing this, Nicole immediately leaves the interview and rushes outside, causing her to lose the opportunity to get the new job. After returning home that evening, Pat calls her on the phone. He explains that he found information about Charlotte Tuck, and the most shocking part is that ever since the same day Mark disappeared, nobody has heard anything about Charlotte either. It almost seemed like she had vanished from the world too. After finishing work, Pat arrives at Nicole's house carrying dinner. Both of them are standing outside talking, while Dion watches the neighborhood from the window. Suddenly, he notices a girl sitting in a wheelchair across the street, whose toy rabbit falls onto the ground. Dion tries to lift it using his powers, but by mistake he teleports himself directly into the middle of the road. Just then, a speeding car comes rushing straight toward him. At the very last second, Dion teleports once again and lands safely in his mother's arms. Witnessing all this leaves Pat completely shocked. That night, Pat tries teaching Dion how to control his powers. He tells him that if he works hard enough, he could truly become a real superhero one day. On the other side, Nicole also wants to help her son. That is why she gives him his father's old watch and says that wearing it helps a person stay calm and focused. The moment Dion puts on the watch, he says that his powers finally feel under control. Hearing this gives Nicole a little confidence, and the next day she sends him to school. But during recess, another boy tries to snatch away his watch. In anger, Dion uses his telekinetic power and violently pulls the boy's arm. Just then, the principal arrives there, and both children are taken to the office. Luckily, Nicole was still at the school at that time. With the help of Professor Fry, she somehow convinces the principal not to suspend Dion. Eventually, the situation calms down, and both kids return back to class. A little later, Nicole is having coffee with her friend when she suddenly receives a call from Charlotte. The two of them decide to meet at a park, but the most shocking moment happens when, while talking on the phone, Charlotte suddenly appears standing right in front of Nicole. She reveals that just like Dion, she also has supernatural powers, and she received them after the very same mysterious incident. Charlotte explains that a few years ago, after divorcing her husband, she traveled to Iceland for a vacation. One night there, an unbelievably beautiful aurora borealis appeared in the sky. But after that event, the lives of everyone present there changed forever. Charlotte says that after that night, all those people developed strange supernatural powers, and Mark was one of them too. Those same powers were later passed down to Dion.